First of all, I want to say a big hello to everyone. I am so excited to be starting this launch. So hello. And I have such a perfect way to begin this. And it just happened by accident because one of my orchestra students just emailed me or texted me because he was saying he was so excited about Mahler's Second Symphony. He actually sent me a a video of himself playing some of the symphony on the piano, and he sent me this text, which it completely captured everything, a whole reason for all of us being here today. And this is what he said. His name's Vincent. He said, "I first discovered Mahler's Second my freshman year of high school when my band director showed it to me. He recorded my reaction because he wanted me to see just how impactful the piece was. I had never heard music so tonally perfect and so intensely emotionally evocative. This music has made me feel a greater sensation of joy than I ever have in my life. This piece has truly changed my entire outlook on life. I will never not enjoy this piece." He's 17. Mahler was truly not only a genius, but a compositional mastermind. The last cadence in the choir is as close to heaven as humanity will ever get. Every time I listen to Mahler 2, I can't help but cry. It is so beautiful and meaningful. I truly believe it is the greatest work ever composed. It's just so perfect. That intoxication is why we're all here. And, you know, to remind ourselves, or to remind you of what he's talking about, I would like to play the end of Mahler's, or near the end of Mahler's Resurrection Symphony, so that you too can feel what he was talking about. Okay, that is what Vincent was talking about, right? One of the most emotional pieces. But those feelings is why you're all here. It's to have these exaltations and all the different emotions in classical music. That is why you are here. And so, you know, you want to understand music better. You want to hear more in it. You want to be more comfortable with it. You want to be with friends who share your passion for music. And that's why you showed up today, even though you're so insanely busy, all of you, all of us. And that is what we're going to be celebrating at this launch party for my classical consortium. Because for me, music is the North Star of healing. And the more I'm alive, the more I'm realizing how true that is. And I've also understood how important it is to be in a community to really feel all of this. So a big part of what we're doing today is to satisfy your yearning to share your love for beautiful music. And that's what my Patreon thing is about. I want to explain a little bit about my Patreon. And then I have some wonderful guests who are going to introduce themselves. but let me get to this thing first. First of all, what is Patreon? Patreon is a established online service that connects artists with supporters. And usually what it is you'll follow a favorite songwriter or band or whatever. Artists can be a visual artist as well, and you support them like a patron does. But I'm turning that on its head because my idea is to use this and use it to support a community and really build a community of all of us that love classical music. And so I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'll be giving you more details about it. But why would you want to be involved in our classical consortium? So these are some of the things I think that can change your life. One, you're going to meet a great group of friends all over the world who enjoy classical music, because one of the nice things of Zoom is we're not limited to just our city that we live in. The other thing is you're going to have enriching experiences learning about classical music. And I'm going to be telling you about all these, or actually I'm not going to be telling you, I'm going to be showing you all of these today now. And you're going to meet highly talented classical musicians from all over. These are world-class people, such variety. I guess I'm very lucky that I just know so many wonderful people. And I've spent my life now, a big part of it, not only composing music, but turning in people into keen listeners and getting them to take the natural love they have and start to feel very comfortable about being able to follow the music from the beginning and end. And then lastly is I'm inviting all of you to become part of an inner circle that supports my music and all of my creative projects, and also that you'll work together. And we were discovering all kinds of things we didn't know before. Patreon has over 200,000 creators on it. And so this is just a brief introduction to it. The best way I think I have of showing it to you is ending the share right now. And well, let me first, I think most of you read my story. I told you what led to this. Actually, from the very beginning of my life, when I first discovered I loved listening to music when I was sorting baseball cards. What a ridiculous story, but it's true, how Beethoven just grew on me that way. And I've talked about how I gave you my story in emails about how I developed as a composer and started to realize that people have a very hard time listening to music and following classical music. It's so much different than pop music. And then I told you I had a remarkable experience during the pandemic where I fell off a ladder and broke my elbow, which was a really traumatic event in my life for sure, while everyone else was going through the trauma of isolation. And as I went through the healing, because it takes a lot of healing with therapy, I thought, oh, this would be such a great idea. I'll go online and do a concert. This will be a really good goal because my arm wouldn't bend past this point. And so I was working all the time in therapy to get it to move, but also I had the problems with my hand. I couldn't curl even my fingers. So I spent a lot of time being able to do that. And I thought this would be great. I'll use Zoom as a way to get out there and do it. So I did that. And then I thought, I was noticing, when you go through a healing process, it's not just about yourself. You start to notice other people with a different sensitivity. And I started to notice just how much everyone else was caring, especially the loneliness in the pandemic. And so I got this idea of doing these hangouts. And these hangouts were really something I just threw out there, just let's talk about music, and ended up attracting such an interesting group of people. And these people you're going to get to meet a whole bunch of them today, and they'll talk about what this experience is like. Let me first, though, before we introduce our guest artists, I'd like to just show you a video that describes what this project is all about, and then we'll talk about it later as we go. So it's about 2 minutes long, just to show you what I'm trying to do. Hello, I'm Russell Steinberg. I'm a composer and performer. I also conduct the Los Angeles Youth Orchestra and give pre-concert talks for the Los Angeles Philharmonic. I'm realizing I'm kind of like a connector of people to classical music. And with the isolated feeling that we all are going through in this pandemic, it led me to create what I'm calling Russell's Classical Consortium. It brings together all of you who want to support my work in a way that can deepen your love for music and truly let you interact with each other. I'm telling you, you're going to laugh, you're going to learn your next new favorite piece, You're going to meet truly intelligent, sensitive people like yourselves, people who still have passion and curiosity to learn. You're going to get the inside scoop of my music, my concerts, and my talks. And the emotions that you're going to feel as we listen together is going to actually bring deeper meaning to your life. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? So I have 4 tiers to the consortium. A supporter gets you access to all my classical listening hangouts. An aficionado gets that, plus enters our private Slack community where we all can chat and share links and music and get to know each other better. A master listener is the 3rd tier. That gets deeper into the music. I'm going to offer exclusive workshops on listening where I address musical topics and maybe answer questions you could have been even too embarrassed to ask. You're also going to get monthly videos where I let you enter into my process composing, performing, and conducting. But it's the 4th tier, the creative circle, that I think is truly going to make the consortium unique, because I just know so many master world-class musicians, and I'm going to give you VIP virtual backstage access. You'll be able to hear me and my performers after concerts where we'll talk about our experiences we had rehearsing and playing. We'll share stories and also answer your questions. You get to be part of this group. So please check it out and come aboard. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you. Oops. All right, so that gives you an idea what this is about. And that picture you saw of everyone there, that was actually taken right around the time of our very last party that we had at my house before the pandemic and before we ended up being on Zoom and everything. One of the great joys I have is working with all the marvelous musicians in my life. And I realized I have this really beautiful opportunity to kind of bridge listeners and performers that way. And so what I'd like to do now is we have some wonderful guests in here, and I would like to bring them in. So we've got Daniel there first, I see. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
Hi there. Thank
right.
you, Russell. Great to see you. Appreciate the invitation.
Okay, we're going to introduce all of these people better now. There we are, Daniel Vnukowski. So let me play. Gosh, we've got so many good things to play, Daniel. What should I play? A little bit of Brahms, maybe?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Old recording.
Okay.
I think I still had pimples in that one.
We'll count.
Oh, there's a big, long introduction with the orchestra, Brahms number 2. I think you have to fast forward about 3 minutes when the piano comes in.
And then we have the orchestral introduction.
Exactly right.
And we'll move forward a little bit.
Sorry, Brahms.
No. That's what we love about it. It's a symphony. Okay, I just want to give people a taste of your artistry. Daniel I'm going to let him talk actually now. Daniel, why don't you speak? But I just want to say to everyone first that I've gotten to meet you through many different ways, including at a conference. But Daniel, premiered one of my piano pieces, Water Rays, as well. So
which was very well received. We talk about it. One of the favorites, one of the highlights of live streaming was your composition, Russell.
Wow, one of the highlights for me was you playing it and teaching me that this Bösendorfer, the Fazioli
yes.
had this unbelievable pedal system on it, right?
Right, the 4 pedals that helped bring out a few more colors. Absolutely.
We all need
Well,
4 pedals. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing, Daniel. Yeah.
well, thank you for this invitation and good luck. Congratulations on this new project. It is so exciting, the Consortium. I think it's brilliant. It has a huge future. And I noticed so many incredible music colleagues here. I'm kind of brushing shoulders with on my side. Very impressive bios I saw. Pianists, an accordionist, cellist, producers, actor, some great singers. Really an honor for me to be here. And thank you to all the listeners also for tuning in today. There's so many things we could do on our evening, and it's wonderful to spend this time with you. Where to start? The pandemic, I guess it's the key word. Like yourself, Russell, the first thing that I started to do when the pandemic hit is started pushing the order button constantly on Amazon, and every single day would be a new gift waiting outside the door, a new shiny gadget waiting to try out and then return, very soon after.
You need to set up so that you could actually make your broadcasts. Yeah.
That's right. So we started doing live concerts. I had no idea what I was doing. We tried 3 of them from the living room. It was a complete disaster. The best was the first one because I had bought a very nice microphone to capture the nuances of the Fazioli. That was primo. But then I started talking, introducing the music, and I forgot to put a mic, to the voice. So people were waiting their 3 minutes, and I'm just talking to thin air. And of course, 3 minutes later, I start looking at the comments, and everyone says in caps, "We can't hear you."
So that was your John Cage performance, of course.
Right.
Everyone said that. Yeah. Yeah, but you got very good at it, is what I remember. You got very good at it, and we got some.
Yeah, and I think the problem is once one finally mastered all the gadgetry, I started pre-recording the concerts, and that's when it no longer became a live concert anymore, and people felt that people wanted to feel the energy, like what we're doing now. This is live.
Right.
I'm for real. The background is completely fake, but I'm for real. I promise. and we learned to deal with the new situation, and people want to feel the spontaneity, the energy of something live.
Well, they also want your personality, and that's the one advantage of that is that you're able to give more. People get to know you in a more intimate way than they would on the concert stage, right?
Exactly, right. And an interesting thing happened as a result of live streaming. Very soon, I started to play less and listen more. That is, I started, like yourself, inviting prominent guests and interesting artists, composers like yourself, and I'm starting to hone a new broadcasting career as a result. And I'm now a radio announcer since 2.5 months now. In Toronto at the largest full-time classical radio station in Canada for English-speaking Canada.
And that's where you're living now, Daniel?
That's where I live now, yes. Just north of Toronto. I have a little satellite studio on the South Georgian Bay, so it's a beautiful setting. I also run a music festival there in the summer, so.
How can we all follow you?
Classicalfm.ca. That's where I have my little Backstage with Daniel program from 10 to 3 Eastern time, so that's 7 to 12.
Yeah, if you could put that in the chat, that would be one.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
For everyone. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
And
thank you. I look forward to the other guests.
Yes, and again, the big part of this consortium, and I'm planning. You guys are all going to be part of this, and we're going to bring you in for to highlight your performances and make sure we get we all get to know you and support the work you're doing. I have here. Cory Pesaturo came on. I have to get to him because he has a sound check in 5 minutes because he's performing in Los Angeles here at the Vibrato Jazz Grill. So Cory, before we talk to you, I just want people to know something about you. So let me move on to, I think I've got something of you here.
See, we have a wide variety, Russell. We have Daniel in the European Carnegie Hall, and I'm in a car. So we have wide variety here.
And here's Cory, just a little bit of Cory.
think you found the most accordion thing possible.
Just wanted people to see a little range. Okay, so that gives that was from your TED Talk, but I thought that would be a real fun way of introducing our virtuoso accordion friend, Cory Pesaturo. Cory, introduce yourself and let us know what's going on.
Well, thank you, Russell, for bringing me on, and this great group of people you have, and great musicians you have. It's an honor to be with all of you.
I know the best.
Yes, I'm trying to make the accordion cool again, as it once was in the United States, and it's somewhat sometimes respected as well in the classical world. I'm more known to do things in jazz or Italian, French, certainly tango, and then a bunch of different other genres. But I'm always trying to put it in places that you might not expect it. Like that last tune, I play with a lot of DJs, where a DJ will be playing at a club or something, and then they tone down, and I come in and play, and people have no idea they're dancing to an accordion because of all the sounds on it, and then it freaks them out, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know accordion could do that." And that's kind of the goal. Is every time I play, and the same will be tonight at this concert, is that I have a couple of people say, "You completely changed my image of what I thought the accordion could do." And that's always the goal, because it's an amazing instrument, but too many times it is used in the same way if you bought a Ferrari and you drove to the grocery store every day with it. It's just not being used correctly too many times.
You've had a lot of time to practice that image, haven't you?
I'm a car guy, so yeah, exactly.
You are a car guy.
Oh, yeah.
As you told me, I didn't realize that.
I mean, I know that's not why I'm in one right now. It's because I got the sound check, but yeah.
Yeah, so Cory's doing this as a favor for that he has the sound check. But I know Cory because Cory's a graduate of, we both went to the same music school, the New England Conservatory of Music. But I believe you are the only accordionist from that school.
Yeah, right? I'd say the only one that actually was officially for accordion. Not that there was an accordion teacher there, but I was there for accordion. I was in the contemporary improv department. So, which didn't really make any sense because I didn't even play jazz yet. And we're talking about Steve Reich and Terry Riley and Philip Glass and then really way out stuff. And I'm like, wait, I got to learn the rules of music before I start to learn to break the rules. Like, can we start with Charlie Parker and Bill Evans? Can we do some jazz first before we go crazy? But so it was a whirlwind of trying to do everything there. But you learned as much from the students as you did from the teachers. And that's what was so great, because there wasn't many students at NEC. It was probably the same when you were there. So you learned as much at lunch and breakfast and going out at a party as you did it in class. And I was always trying to catch up, because being an accordion player, we pretty much grow up playing accordion music, which is its own genre, and kind of the first tune you played would be in that category of accordion music, but really it's its own category. So there's not too much. Then we dabble the competitions. I certainly played a good amount of Tchaikovsky. A lot of times in Europe and Russia, they do a lot of Bach transcriptions. So we do that. And there are some accordion pieces that are written specifically for accordion and orchestra stuff. Not too many. But it's everywhere. It's just in the United States you don't see it too much.
Yeah. So if people want to find out about you and what you're doing, what's the easiest way to find out what you're up to?
Just CoryPesaturo.com or cpesmusic.com goes to the same site. Okay. And if you can't spell Pesaturo, just type in Cory and accordion on Google. You'll see me. So.
Maybe Dana can put that in the chat, because you clearly are not in a place you can type.
Well, I'm parked, so yeah, I could throw that in for sure. But thank you so much for bringing me on this, Russell.
No, it's great to see you, Cory, and we're going to continue to do things with you. Cory was one of our guests at the Hangout, and one of our most popular guests for obvious reasons, because there's nothing he can't talk about, whether it's about his winning a Guinness Book, world records for accordion playing, or who knows. But he's also someone who's just alive with every type of style. I don't know anyone who actually knows as many styles in the depth that he knows, and it's just really wonderful. I wish you a great performance.
Thank
And
you.
if you guys want to leave this launch party, you can go hear him playing. Actually, they don't have to leave it because it's at night, right? 7:00 tonight.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. Yeah. Vibrato.
Okay, at vibrato. Okay, we will be checking into you later. Have a good sound check, Cory.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, Kristina. Let me go with you. I'm so glad you were able to join us, Kristina.
Oh, I'm just thrilled to be here.
It's so great because God, I haven't seen you in a long time, and boy, you have been very busy. I've been able to see that.
Oh,
There you are.
there I am.
Bachrach and soprano. And so I have a piece of yours that you did of mine a long time ago. Let me just play people a minute of my lullaby from Brimabrew.
Strings are running through you. You're a button on a thread, and you traverse the night time through the stories of your dreams and dreams of colored dreams vibrate from the strings. Scents and songs and pictures on lakes and secret
All right. Oh God, I just love that performance, Kristina. So,
Gosh, I just love that piece. It's so great to hear it.
so tell us all what you've been up to, and it's
Sure.
great.
Well, I live an honored life among singers because so many of my colleagues mainly perform, classical singing colleagues mainly perform in operas. And I've always had a really diverse schedule. I sing a lot of contemporary music and a lot of chamber music and several operas a year usually, but always something new. And I'm lucky to get to perform with wonderful colleagues from all over the world. And before COVID, right before the pandemic, I had been splitting my time for several years between New York City and Chicago, where my husband lives. And for the past 2 years or so, I've just been in Chicago and doing what we're all doing, performances here and there where it's been plausible and possible. But my most immediate project, and one reason I feel extra lucky to be here with you all tonight, is that I'm expecting a baby like any second, my first. And so I was like keeping my fingers crossed that it wouldn't be today.
We're so lucky that you're able to come on, and this is absolutely your most ambitious performance to date. We're right in the dressing room before the
Right, exactly.
for the performance. Huh?
We were like walking on stage. So yeah, I'll take a few months off from here, but then I feel lucky. In the end of April, I'm doing some Gershwin songs in Boston, and then I'm doing a tour in North Carolina of the premiere of some new arrangements of some pieces by David Ludwig and some Schubert, and then I'm doing a premiere of a Lembit Beecher song cycle in New York City in May. I mean, should everything pan out, and then I'll be in residence with the baby at the Marlborough Festival for
At the
several weeks
Marlborough
this
Festival.
summer.
Wow. Wow. Right at the top there. You know, I think it's so important for those of us that are just listeners and music lovers to see how creative performers have to be, especially at this time we're living, to explore so many different streams. And there's not one of you, at least that I know, that doesn't, like me, gonna get fractured in so many different ways of doing things. And so I wouldn't have guessed that about you as well, with all the different performance you're doing, but absolutely I can hear it. And we're so lucky, those of us who are composers, that singers like you want to devote so much work and part of your artistry to that. We're lucky.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I just want to say it's such an honor to be here with my colleagues and with music lovers and with you, Russell. And so thank you so much for including me.
Absolutely, Kristina. And we will be having you on as a guest and going into more depth with you, as we will with all of you. Thank you.
I can't wait.
So much.
Thank you.
All right, and good luck.
Thank you.
We'll check in. All right, let me go to. There we are. I want everyone to hear just a little bit of Cecilia Tsan, a wonderful, wonderful cellist. Okay, I wish I could hear the whole thing, actually. I'm so glad we got to have Bach in here too, not just Mahler. Cecilia, thank you so much for coming today. And you too are an artist who just does so much. Could you talk to us a little bit about everything you're involved in?
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, Russell.
Oh, yeah.
This was actually, that video was shot at the Mount Wilson Observatory, where in 2017 we started a music series which is chamber music and jazz. And we started with nothing. And right before the pandemic, all the concerts were sold out. So this season we are starting again, hopefully in May. And it's a very magical place, and people always come back when they come at one concert to one concert. They always come back. And I also do. I'm principal cello for Long Beach Symphony for the LA Master Chorale.
Right.
We're having a concert in a few days with both orchestras, and I'm playing lots of chamber music. So next one will be Schubert trios, Dvorak, and I did a major recording for, I don't know if you know Eric Tanguy, who is a French composer, and Esa-Pekka Salonen premiered his pieces with the LA Phil, and he's played all over the world, and we are releasing a CD of his chamber music. So
Congratulations on
it's
that.
super busy despite the pandemic, and I'm also writing my book in French. So it's I haven't been bored at all. It's I feel very blessed, and but I want to share all of this because I think music, as you said it before, is really what the world needs right now.
Yeah.
It's beyond words, and it unites people with beyond the words, and that's my mission with my colleagues, and it's a beautiful thing that you have here. This
And that's why you're here today. I really, really appreciate. Cecilia was just featured recently with the Long Beach Symphony in the Violins of Hope, which was a performance with violins that were recovered from the Holocaust and restored, and that have been touring around the world. And she performed with one of my students who couldn't make it today, but he's also been a guest, Niv Ashkenazi. So I got to see a little clip of that on the news. It was just so beautiful, Cecilia.
It was very moving. I played the Kol Nidre, the Bruch Kol Nidre with orchestra, and it was playing with those instruments was extremely moving.
Yeah.
When you know the history of what happened to them and the musicians, it's very sad, but it's a lesson that the world should never forget.
And one especially now we need to play.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you and I we're on the same wavelength with all of that.
Yes.
And we will have you back for sure, Cecilia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck to everybody in
You
these
bet.
difficult times.
Yeah, I want to say hi to John Schneider now. I wanted to play just a little bit of a performance of yours. There's so many things John does, and John does well, but he's a composer as well and a guitarist, fantastic guitarist. Here's a piece by Lou Harrison I found. Okay, that gives a little bit of it's a tease for the huge sonic tapestry that you create, John. So please say hi.
Hey, it's so nice to see you all. I see a lot of familiar faces, having hung out with you before on a Monday. So it's just great to see you all together again. It's funny to see that clip again. I've forgotten all about that show, but that sort of sums it up with at least two instruments around me, right?
Yeah, right. At least two. And also just the beauty of exploring the sonorities and the timbres of those worlds, those microtonal worlds.
Well, yeah, that's sort of what I've been doing for a very, very long time. And people have been sharing what they've been doing as of late. As of late, of course, there was the before times and there's the now times. Every year I have the great pleasure with my group, the Parch Ensemble, to play at Disney Hall's Red Cat Theater. And we were all set to play a whole bunch of brand new premieres in 2020.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. So they said, hey, I tell you what we'll do. Why don't you come back and do them live in 2021? We just won't have anyone in the audience. We said, oh, great. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Then the COVID compliance officer said, oh, by the way, there can't be any more than 10 people in the room at the same time, which is kind of unfortunate because we commissioned a brand new choreography of Harry Parch's music, and there were 6 dancers, 10 musicians, 4 camera people. Oh, so we worked it out. We did a virtual show, which is still available. But what I'm really excited about now is that we're coming back to Red Cat this June, and we're doing this amazing program. It's all premieres. There's a brand new piece written for string quartet and the Harry Parch Ensemble. The Del Sol Quartet's coming down from San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
It's music by Taylor Brook, who's a Canadian composer. And then the entire, for the next 55 minutes, is this huge, huge piece called Harry Parch's Plectra and Percussion Dances. It's a dance drama. Now, we've done the first movement with many different dance companies, but nobody has ever choreographed the whole thing. We commissioned that choreography. And that's what we're getting all ready for. But in the meantime, we're supposed to play in Korea in March, in 6 weeks. And we're still arm wrestling with the government, whether or not we have to quarantine for 10 days or do we get an exemption? I mean, it's just crazy. But in the meantime, of course, Microfest is alive and well. I also run this festival called Microfest, or I'll put all the links in the chat. Microfest has also been offline, so we went online and have something called Micro Moments. Every month, there's a 5-minute piece that introduces people to another aspect of microtonal music. So that's very exciting. And of course, I'm still doing radio every week. Russ, you've been a guest on that show many, many times. So that's happening still. And in the meantime, I've also, I've got this
KPFK Global Village, for those of you who don't know. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And also because of the pandemic, I've had a lot of time at home. So my record company, Microfest Records, just released 6 records last year, one of which that got a Grammy nomination. Hila also, who we'll talk to later, I hope is nominated as well. We still have to wait. It was supposed to be this weekend. We were supposed to find out, but oh no, COVID strikes again. It's going to be April 3rd in Las Vegas. They moved the whole thing over. So a lot of stuff going on. I'm doing a new solo album. George is working on things. So there's just so much to do and so little time.
Well, it's so exciting to hear that. And, you know, the common theme, you know, we're all dealing with the fact that all these roadblocks have been put in our way. And yet I want everyone to hear just that the creativity is just still, it's finding all kinds of new avenues. And I think that's exciting. And that Parch premiere sounds really, really important. And I want to thank you, John, so much for being here. And you will definitely be someone we're including as we go on. These windows into all of you artists is a big idea about this Patreon. Folks, stay tuned because I am going to give you the link to let you know how to join in a second as well. But I'd like to go on, and I think I'd next like to introduce Yuval. Hi, Yuval. How you doing? I haven't talked I've seen you for a while. We've talked.
Yeah. Great to be with you, Russell.
Great to have you here too. And Yuval, let me just play a snippet of your stuff so people have an idea what you do. Here we go. Here's Erev Shel Shoshanim. Are you guys all seeing that on the are you seeing that, Yuval, on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's play a little bit of that.
كده الفتى عيني غني في أذنيك أغنية الحب
Okay, just to give a taste, I actually should have, to be fair, I should have really shared something more of showing your oud artistry, because that's with all the things you do, Yuval, it's your beautiful oud playing to me that weaves the tapestry around everything.
Yeah, thank you. This was the lead singer for my ensemble, Maya Hadi from Israel, and the duduk master, Norik Manukian, who played for many films like Dead Men Walking. He's on the soundtrack playing the duduk, and Helen of Troy. And so I always like to bring incredible musicians to play with me and in my ensemble for my film scores. And I was amazed, sometimes I'm on stage and I play and I listen and I close my eyes and suddenly I enjoy it so much and I can't believe that I'm in it. Suddenly I'm becoming a listener and I wake up from being a listener and I realize that I'm on stage with these great masters and it's just incredible. I mean, Los Angeles is a great place to be as far as musicians, there's so many great musicians here. So I know that you wanted to know what's going on. The next,
because you're a person who attracts so many people to you, and even I hear from you about all the different projects you have. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. In 2 weeks, on February 5th and February 6th, there are two events. February 5th, there's an unusual concert, live concert in person at Barbara Morrison Performance Arts Center, which is in Lamert Park. She's presenting a concert of film music, which is pretty rare to have. It's a music by John Williams from Schindler's List and Ennio Morricone and John Corigliano and myself, one of my pieces, and other musicians, music from Black Panther, from Japanese animation TV.
Okay.
It's performed by musicians from the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra, Dennis Karmazan and Max Karmazan, and we're doing this live concert where we're going to be talking about how the music creates emotions and feelings and images in the brain of the audience and how it's being used to manipulate the audience perceptions and expectations and make the movie work. Why does film music work? How does it come into play? And so it's a very educational opportunity. I know you like to do those kind of concerts, and I know we are planning to do some concerts like this with you, Russell, in the future, to do more of that kind of outreach and explaining to people about music and film music.
Well, I mentioned to you that Max Karmazan, who's going to be playing in your concert, was once a student in my youth orchestra.
Right. Now I recall, yeah. So,
he's a fantastic player.
So the nice thing is that you can attend the concert for free. It's a free concert. It's a gift for the community. And if you don't want to come and be there in person, you can still watch it for free on YouTube, live streamed on YouTube with multiple cameras and all that stuff. It's on February 5th at 8 p.m. PST, and all the information is on my website at yuvalronmusic.com. It's yuvalronmusic.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, please, you guys all put your stuff in the chat so people can copy and paste that. Thank you so much, Yuval. What a tapestry of people and artists I know, and it's very exciting, everything that you're doing, and also, the message that is behind everything you do, which is really, really goes deep into this idea of unification and find. So I can imagine what it's like when you're in your concert and suddenly you just trance out and you're no longer a performer. I also know that for me as a performer, that's both exhilarating and a terrifying experience because when you're performing, you always have to be a little bit ahead of the curve, not in it. So I get that. All right. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce everyone to Pianist Nada. And Nada, I am going to start with a little bit of your Brahms sonata, just so people know what you're about. Okay, I'm going to hold off right on that theme. Now, this was not intended that I was going to have both pianists playing Brahms, but in your case, Nada, it's so appropriate because you've made Brahms such a centerpiece of so much of your work and your study. You want to talk to us a little bit about that? And muted. While you work that out, I'll let you work that out. I just want to let everyone know that Nada is, as someone who also has performed some of my music, just a fantastic pianist. And she also has been doing group muse concerts. I know a lot of you have heard of group muse. And so she's done some wonderful performances with that of all kinds of classical music. And she first came to my attention because I was so impressed with the intensity of her playing, the intensity and the attention to detail. And sometimes I've listened to a piece she does and I go, that's even too slow a tempo for me. But then as I listen to it and it goes, suddenly I'm hearing things in it I hadn't heard before. And that's one of the great things. So I'm sorry, Nada, we're having some technical difficulties with your voice. I see your mouth moving, but not hearing you. But I want you to know, if you could put in the chat ways that people can hear you, people can just type in Pianist Nada, and we will be able to hear you. It's probably with something with your audio settings, as I'm guessing. And if you get that working, just let me know. Okay. So I want to thank all of you guys for being on, and this gives an idea of the richness that we have in the consortium. I want to just talk to you guys and share with you a little bit more what the consortium is, and I actually just want to launch it before I forget, so that you guys all have a chance to join it. So let me show you a little bit of what the consortium is about. So you saw quickly in the video before, I told my story of everything, and then you saw this beautiful thing of circles. And the Patreon is set up as a subscription model. And so I've spent the last 5 months trying to figure out what's the best way to build a community with integrity for people who are just beginning and people who just want to get in with more detail. And so you're going to see that there's, they call it tiers, but I see it as circles. And obviously the one I'm the most excited about is the inner circle, what I call the creative circle. And I will talk about that in a second, the things. The supporter will get you to all the listening hangouts. And that includes every Monday, you know, few exceptions, but almost every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And I may be adding one as well for people, my friends in Europe. You know, from 5 to 6, we talk about a variety of topics, and we also get to know each other. We also, I'm also going to be doing 3 Zoom concerts a year, and you'll be getting free tickets to that. So that's for $10 a month. I think I did the math, and at some point, I think it's like 30 cents, works out to 30 cents an event or something like that. So that is the supporter, and that gets you in. But it's the next tier, the aficionado, that I think starts to get a little bit more interesting, because this is where, this was the epiphany I had, that it wasn't just about these artists and me, but it was also the fact that you guys wanted to create friends with yourselves. You wanted to get to know each other. And so I discovered that Slack, which is an application that lets us have a private group, is the perfect way for us to interact. So the Slack group, once you jump up to the aficionado, allows you to actually get kind of inside. And the Slack groups where you're going to actually become friends with all the different people we have. And the Slack group, you're able to talk about classical music. You're able to share links. You're able to share ideas. You're also able to socialize. And we've been trying it out this last month, and I think it's been working out really well. It's a much more private thing than Facebook, so it doesn't have some of the issues that you have with Facebook with privacy. And it's fairly simple to use because you can either post things just like you post in Facebook, typing them out to everybody, or you can message people privately. And I'm hoping this will be the forum that we can use once we're able to gather again, to be able to do trips and all of that stuff. The aficionado also allows you to get 10% off the lecture library. And then the third circle is the master listener. And this is for those of you who really want to, really understand classical music in a much more depth. And so what I'm going to be doing on that is you will have 4 exclusive workshops, 2-hour workshops that I'm going to give per year. And those will be on topics. I will suggest topics for that, and you can decide on them. But they're going to be things like I always wanted to know how that worked. Like string players, how do they deal with all the different things? What are all the different effects they do when they're playing? And why do we have to have so many of them in the orchestra? And how do they all organize themselves? Just things that you might not otherwise know that's going to enrich your listening when you go to concerts. I'm also going to give you, each month you'll receive a process video, and I'm very excited about these. I'm calling them the secrets of composing, conducting, and performing. I just did my first one, and I'm very excited because I'm conducting the Sibelius Second Symphony with the LA Youth Orchestra this semester. And so I thought it would be so interesting for those of you who are music lovers, but not necessarily musicians, to know, how does a conductor approach a score? And so you'll see on this video, I just start by showing you how I actually write measure numbers into the score, and how I look at the score as almost like a painting, and all the information I can get to it. And I'm going to show you, even if you don't have to read music, just what is going on with all of those black notes and all of that negative space. And then you're going to, as you'll go through this process of me building up an interpretation. And so I think it's going to be exciting. I'm also going to talk about my approach to writing music, my approach to performing music, but always from the perspective of people who are listeners. And that tier will come with a 15% off for all the stuff in my store, and that store is really starting to build. There's so many lectures, so many recordings, and books coming out as well. And then finally, let me talk to you about the Creative Circle. The Creative Circle is the one that has me the most excited, because this is where all these artists that you saw, this is where you're going to get to interact with them, so to speak, in a VIP virtual backstage access. After my concerts and special Zoom events we're going to have, you're going to be able to get to know these people in a much more, colloquial way, where you'll be able to ask them questions and really kind of get a sense of what is the artist's perspective for that. You heard Yuval say, that he sits there, and he can't believe these people that he's put together and what he's hearing. He suddenly becomes a listener. But there's a lot of strategy and a lot of stages that performers go through. And I think the more audiences understand that, I think they're going to come to a deeper appreciation of what's going on, and with the music itself. Plus, as you've seen, those of you in the Creative Circle, you're going to get access to such a wide variety of people. Everything from some of the deepest classical pianists to accordion, virtuoso accordion and oud players, as you see, or people, John working with microtonal music. I want to tell you something amazing happened when I prepared this launch party. I sent out messages to just literally 150 different musicians I know. And I got back such a warm response, because all of them are looking for a way to connect with you in a more meaningful way, just like you are with them. And I'm beginning to see that this Creative Circle is going to turn into something special. So if you're a founding member, and you actually sign up for the Patreon today, that is going to be for only $75 a month. And remember, when you're in this circle, you get all of the other things from the other circles, everything from the Hangouts to the workshops to the process videos, all of that stuff. And so that I wanted to give you a sense of what that is like. And now, without further ado, I would like to give you a link to the actual page so that you are the first to see this. This is the Patreon page, Russell's Classical Consortium. And you can see here, you can select the membership levels. And you'll see that there's really only 4 levels because the level here is for founding members. Any of you signing up for the Creative Circle this week will get this $75 thing, and it will go up probably after the next month to $100, and because it's worth it. That's why. And then down here, this video I showed you, and then all kinds of information. And I'm going to later in this call, I'm going to be sharing with you all kinds of information about Patreon and asking your questions. But right now, before I forget, so here is Russell's. You think I would have put that in first? Classical Consortium on Patreon, and here you go. Boom. Be the first to sign up. Thrill me with that. Yeah, this is an idea that I've had for like 5, I guess, really for a couple of years, but it really only coalesced in this last 6 months. And we're going to see, you guys are going to prove to me whether this is an idea that you want, but I know that there is a hunger for it. And this is a way that I think is going to not only self-sustain, but get into a place where we're going to get into a deeper world. And I'm hoping after the pandemic, my real dream is that we are actually going to be able to take trips together that are all enriched with music. And I just thought it would be fun. I'm not going to do a major teaching or anything, but I wanted to give you a little bit of my approach. Those of people who've been on the Hangouts kind of know how this works, but I just want to show you very briefly approach to listening. I wanted to give you just some basic tips for music listening. One of the biggest problems that I find when people are listening to music is that they bring themselves always to the piece. And my first tip that I always give everyone is to take yourself out of it. Take yourself out of the audio I put here. And the way I have saying it is stop using the phrases, I like this piece, or I don't like this piece, or I like that passage, I don't like that passage, or I like that instrument, or I don't like that instrument. There's a lot of very funny stories in film music where a director would say, well, write me whatever you want, but no flutes. I don't like flutes. There's tons of stories like that. And I think it's really important to realize that tells, when you say that those kinds of statements, it tells a lot about yourself, but it doesn't really reveal anything about the music, because just like in everything in life, we project our biases. And I certainly have those biases. I grew up listening to Brahms and Beethoven and Rachmaninoff, and then when I heard, let's say, when I heard Ligeti, or I heard Schoenberg, or I heard Jimi Hendrix, I just said, shit, I don't like any of that. And I had to go on the same journey that I'm asking you guys to go on. And so the first thing I learned to ask when I really started to become a listener was, is the music well wrought? Or how is it put together? Does it develop its opening ideas? Does it fulfill its destiny? And this is a big idea. It's not something that comes instantly. But listening to a piece of music and understanding, does it fulfill its destiny? For instance, if you have, an example here. If you have a piece by Brahms, here's a beautiful intermezzo from 117. Now, you can say, oh, I like that piece, it's pretty, but what is the idea? How is it wrought? Are you able to hear that the whole thing is trying to fulfill the destiny of a falling two-note pattern? So, you know, and understanding that everything in that piece, as you're starting to listen to it, is not only as you going da-da, da-da, but you're hearing the bass is going slower. While this is going da-da, this is going da-dum. And that's not all. Then inside, da-da, that's going the opposite direction. So when you start to hear in those ways, you're not listening, oh, I like the sound, I don't like the sound. You're starting to be involved in the process of the music itself, its idea. And so that's one of the first tips I give for listening. The next one I give is to be able to identify repetition and contrast. Stravinsky has a great quote about this. He says, contrast is everywhere. Now, I have to stop right there because that seems, you know, at first it seems, you know, well, don't we always listen for repetition? I mean, contrast is not everywhere in Philip Glass. Contrast is not everywhere in the Beatles even. But Stravinsky's talking on a much deeper level. He says contrast is everywhere. One is only to take note of it. In other words, he's saying we are wired to notice contrast, he said. But similarity is hidden. Again, this seems opposite, right? Because isn't it that similarity is everywhere and contrast is hidden? He's saying, no, that really isn't how it is. We are built to notice things that are different and distinguished. In fact, we get bored very quickly if we think everything's the same. He says similarity is hidden. It must be sought out, and it is found only after the most exhaustive efforts. He says, when variety tempts me, I am uneasy about the facile solutions it offers me. In other words, what he's saying is that it's really simple to go from one idea to another idea to another idea. He says, similarity, on the other hand, poses more difficult problems, but also offers results that are more solid and hence more valuable to me. And so he's talking about what I was showing you in the Brahms. You know, the idea that is played out very slowly and then backwards. And so you start to realize, oh, if it's going that slow, is it also going on even a slower level? I use a really wonderful example, and many of you have heard this, from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. We all know, but in the second movement, you get this. So you say, aha, aha, I notice the repetition. Instead of going, but if you really are looking for similarity, like Stravinsky says, similarity is hidden. And so if you really pay attention, on a longer level, you're getting, because what is this? You go, it's dot, 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 dum, but it's also same, different. Because the fourth time it's either longer or a different note. Right? That's the first movement. But look what he's doing in the second movement. Same. Now different. See, on a long level, now same, different. To be able to notice that is where you start to get intoxicated about listening to music. Because then you say, well, let's go down the rabbit hole all the way. How far does it go? And in fact, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is in 4 movements, and the fourth movement is the culmination of all 3. So in a certain sense, the first 3 movements are dun, 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 and the last movement, bum. And so that, you know, when you start to think on those levels, listening starts to become an active thing that can be so exciting. So that's my second tip for you. My third tip is to notice cadences. Cadences are the musical punctuation. And I say they can be commas, semicolons, question marks, periods, even ellipses or exclamation points. Cadences are so important because cadences are what let you know that you're stopping one idea and starting another. And what's so important about listening to repetition or contrast or cadences, it's regardless of the style, right? Because if we're even doing pointillistic music, it's even easier in music that has more extreme textures to notice things like repetitions and contrast, and to be geared for that. But punctuation is so important because when I try to demonstrate why we need to hear cadence is imagine writing on a board and just writing letters without any space. And you've seen those exercises where you do a run-on sentence and there's just no space. There's no punctuation marks and no spaces. It's illegible, right? It's computer code. We need we need the negative space between things to organize things so we can hear it. And so that's why you want to have something like that lets you know we've come to a period, or something that lets you know it's a deceptive motion, or something that's a question mark. And then you have to have still question mark. And then then you have the ellipsis. Okay, so being able to identify that in all different, these are irregardless of style. And then the last tip I want to share with you, the last tip I have, is to follow the story of the music. This is the most important and most difficult thing to do for us because we, as I say many times, we're able to follow a movie, but it's very hard to follow a new piece of music. And so that means knowing the narrative just like you follow it in a movie or a television show, that you have a beginning that establishes a conflict, there's a middle that moves towards a climax, and then you have a return that is often very changed because of what happened before, and then a denouement. The best picture I've ever seen that describes every piece of music is this picture that composer Ernst Toch created. He explained that every story that music tells is a dialogue of tension and release, building in these ways, that you begin with these conflicts, cause tension, release, and then they build, and then you come to a middle section, and this middle section then builds to a big climax of tension. And then you have the return and the denouement, that's the relaxation. Being able to hear all these things is one of the things that I try to do with my with all of you guys listening. And for all of you who are attending, I have a free gift for you. I have your list as attendees, and I'll be sending you a link for what I think is one of the best tools I've developed to do that. Is I'm going to be gifting you the volume 1 from my audio maps. And I think you're looking at that now. Right here. And that's my audio maps to the Beethoven symphonies. And this is I think a really powerful guide to be able to follow the story in music. And you'll be able to see I have a little video that explains all of these things, where I actually have created events in a kind of cartoon-like form that allow you to follow an entire movement of a Beethoven symphony on just 1 or 2 pages without even having to know how to read music. And I think I've been able to change a lot of people's lives this way. And if you'll now all have the chance to see how it affects you, and I will send that to you. I'd like to just stop for a second and see if anyone has any questions about my Patreon and about how it works and what it's about before I go on. Yeah, David is saying in the chat that he likes the audio maps. You're so welcome. Yeah, I've used the audio maps before at Disney Hall. It was a lot of fun. I've done Disney Hall's given me a chance to try a lot of different things. Yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chat. as we're continuing. And before we go on, I wanted to know, did we ever get Hila on board? Yes, I see Hila. Let me put you, spotlight everyone. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm going. I just dropped my son off at home in the car, and I'm running away from the house so that I can get a moment with all of you guys.
Well, thank you so much, Hila.
Hi.
Let me, before we start, let me wait 1 second. Here's one of these. I'm getting lost in my screens. I wanted to share. 1 second, it's this one. I wanted to share I think I have a video of you. 1 second. So this is a piece that was commissioned here in Los Angeles that Hila premiered just a year ago. That gives a little taste of that piece that we did through the pandemic, right?
That was amazing. That was amazing.
By the Jewish Sacred Foundation.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I've had such a, to me, it's such a thing of beauty to collaborate with you.
Same.
Could you tell us just a little bit, just share a little bit of of yourself and what you're doing now?
Well, firstly, I just want to thank you for having me on this. I think it's just so brilliant that you're finally putting this together. You have such a treasure of knowledge and a way of teaching that is so, it's so accessible. And I know that all of you are here because you understand that, but I want to reiterate how worth it it absolutely is. And please to go on Patreon and support Russell in this. I just love that this endeavor is taking roots. It's fantastic. And I love your music so much too.
we met at an after concert party, right?
Yes, we did.
After the Here Now Festival. And I still remember you just, you said, oh, just write me a piece, and I figured, I wasn't going to take you up on that. And of course I did. I was reading Joyce at the time. And I remember when you first, you first came over and I played you the piece. And I remember you said, okay, one's good. Why don't you write some more? It was a very exciting time, I remember.
Yeah, and I can't wait to do the Hanukkah one live,
Right.
And do a whole series on light, because you obviously understand the subject of light.
Right. Yeah. Well, so many composers have done so many amazing things with it. You yourself are all about light. Could you tell us all a little bit about what you've been up to in this past year and what you're doing?
It's been a kind of fascinating year, I'm sure, as it has to everybody else. That the creativity has been very it kind of a plethora of things that I wasn't expecting. The main of which I got to be part of this series that is it's a creator. His name is Hershey Felder. Yeah. Some of you might know who he is. He used to live here in Los Angeles. Phenomenal pianist and writer, producer, actor. And he decided, because of the COVID years, to take these shows that he used to do as stage shows, which will come back, but make little films that a kind of series of films, each one about a different composer. Kind of, he's a teacher like you. He teaches through his art, and I got to be part of a couple of these beautiful films for his second season. The first one was the story of Dante and Beatrice, and the second one was all about Mozart and the Ponte and their relationship around the marriage of Figaro, and it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. So, you know, and I look forward to doing. There's going to be a couple more that I'm going to be involved in.
So many things you do, and you are a writer yourself, and I know that because I have heard your work, and your range, just like the range of all the other guests I've had today, is just phenomenal. You know, there's so many different genres that you're comfortable with, and you're constantly experimenting. True, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's all, that's experimentation. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're someone in this creative circle. When we get, you're someone I'm definitely going to be involving and talking about how you as a performer you create in the moment, because that is something when you and I worked together, that was one of the things I enjoyed the most. Is we were in a constant, here I'd finished the piece, but yet I realized I hadn't, because there were so many things you were discovering, everything from where you were going to stand to where that we had this great moment in the last song of my Joy Cycle where you said, no, it needs to go half the tempo. And I remember that was an epiphany, one of the most amazing epiphanies I've experienced, and that's part of the excitement of working with a creative performer.
Yeah, and you too. I mean, one of the more incredible things about you is that you're such a phenomenal performer. You know, I knew you as a composer, and then standing on stage with you, and like you said, being very present and kind of creating the art through that moment together. I can't think of a better thing to do in my life.
And thank you. And that's the thing I want to share with all of the people who are music lovers, because I want them to be able to get closer to that experience and to see what that's like, because there's so many ways I feel that the emotions they experience can be amplified that way. And so that's so cool about having you and all these wonderful guests here. So thank you so much, Hila. I really appreciate you taking the time, and look forward to seeing
Amazing. Me too. And I look forward to your tutelage. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I want to talk about, I want to first a little bit more about, I really appreciate that from Hila. I want to talk a little bit more about Patreon, because some of you might have some questions. So some of the things you need to know, that the amounts that I showed there are amounts that are charged per month. It's a subscription, just like you have a subscription to Amazon Prime or to a cable channel or something like that. And it's done through your credit card, also PayPal. People have asked, well, if I try it, can I cancel at any time? And absolutely, it's just like a subscription. You can cancel any time. And the beautiful thing is I don't have to deal with any of this, which is why I'm doing it through Patreon, because this is a platform that, like, as you saw, over 200,000 artists around the world are using. And so they take care of all of that stuff. And my job is just to supply the content and the community, which is what this is all about. So you sign up for those things, and then you're going to find through that let Chuck in. You sign up for them, and then you're going to get links to some of the benefits, and then you're on a list where you'll if you go into the Hangout, you'll get the link for the Hangout. And if you go to the aficionado or the master listener or the creative circle tier, you'll be in our Slack channel. And in our Slack channel, as we talked about our Hangout Monday, I'm going to be providing you a calendar of events where you can see where everything's happening. And of course, if you are in the, you're unable to attend some of these events, it's all going to be virtual. It's all going to be recorded, and you will have access to it as long as you're members of that channel. Someone was asking in the creative circle, what if I can't attend the after concert events because of the time zone I'm in. Well, we're going to be doing those the day after, and all the people in the Creative Circle, I'll be taking a poll to find best times, and they'll all be recorded, so you'll be able to get at that as well. And I think you're going to find that the content, well, I think the artists that I've had here on board are kind of indicative of the kind of quality you're going to be able to sample. So those are all good questions, though, and I love that. And I'm sure you may have more questions because it's new for me as well. This is something, it's a platform that I've researched. I've spent much these last few months building, but I think it's really something that's going to work well for us. What I'd like to do now is introduce you to some of our Hangout participants, because these Hangouts have been extraordinary. I originally started them just as something to deal with my own isolation and loneliness. And I could sense in my emails people were also so frustrated they couldn't go to concerts. You've heard all these artists today talk about how difficult and challenging it was. But I spend every day I spend at this piano here, I'm always every day, I can do something many of you can't. I can pull out Brahms and Beethoven or Bach, and I'm playing it every day. And I'm giving myself a mini lesson all the time. And it's something that's so emotionally powerful. And I realized I might as well just share some of that. What I didn't expect was that I was going to attract a community of people so interesting and so bright that they were able to give so much back to me and to each other. We've got Carlton. I'm going to put you guys all up together. We've got Carolyn. There's Chuck. Fantastic. And appreciate Dana. Dana's helping me out today doing that. All right, David. Good. I should be going through this too to help. And fantastic. Gloria on board. And we have Pat. Let's get Pat. Add spotlight. There's Pat. All right. Hi, Pat. So you guys, why don't you all unmute yourselves? And what I just would like to do is just have you go around and talk about what you've gotten from each other and the experiences we've had, both in our Hangouts and in the lectures we've done. I don't know. Carolyn, you want to start?
Why not?
Why not?
For me, what these classes have meant, going with Russell, this is going down the rabbit hole of classical music into an inner unique world that I have never found anywhere in any other kind of lectures. And basically it's because while many people lecture, Russ teaches. And that has been a very unique experience that I've absolutely adored and would be very hard pressed to give up at this point in time. And it really is that way. You learn, you just constantly learn. And with the Zoom experience, which has been ironically a benefit of COVID, it has brought the classical music world into a much closer, more intimate experience where so often, as much as I've listened to classical music all my life, I realize now it was always at arm's length, but it's not anymore.
That's really beautiful to hear. Carlton, what have you gotten out of the?
Well, as one who is, I am a videographer and I actually document theater and performances and music and stuff, and so I feel like I'm a fly on the wall. I actually find there's a lot of Venn diagrams of the arts. And what I hear here, I think other people in the other arts would value too, because they could apply it to their own sense of structure and things and how these things intermeld and they relate to each other in the artistic fields. And it's not just limited to classical, because when I'm hearing something like the cadence and things, I'm saying, my God, this is what I do in my stereo optical 3D. And I know I know rock musicians, and when you were describing some ways some people would play notes, I said I know some rock musician people that have these same people that are describing in a very loving way how something they could have played it like this, but no, they played it like this. And there's like the and to hear that in different fields of music, to know the emotional impact and cloud exists in all of them. And there's something parallel about the omni art about it. So I'm listening here and I'm saying there's so many dovetails that are going on. Because when it comes to the actual classical music, I'm lost in the dust. I think everybody.
That's one of the things that we get from you and other people, though. If you can teach us about how you see things, it's going to help us with our listening too. That's
right.
It's so amazing. Yeah.
And by the way, when I hear some of these people, I forgot who it was, played some of their music, you listen to it differently when you are in the, dare I say, the room with them. When you're talking equitable, it's not someone up on the stage and you're down here, and it's like that. And you hear it differently, and you're like, there's an equitable level. And who was it that played his piece? Pevney who played the piece of music a couple of weeks ago.
Mark Pesner. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yes. I realized, wow, I'm listening to this not as I would if I didn't have like this little group here.
Yeah.
I would be because I would be intimidated and I would be this, and I don't have that here. And I think there's something about there's not the layers of the typical sociology here.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's great. And you bring up a fact I want to mention too, that one of the great joys I've had in the Hangouts was that some of my Harvard colleagues who I hadn't really seen in decades came on, and we've really established this wonderful rapport, just not only with me, but with all of the people in the group.
And I can overhear that too. And it's like, wow, I feel like I'm here listening in. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's right. Noam Elkies and Mark Pevsner and Lisa.
right. It's a delight on those levels.
Yeah, and you're in New York, right, Carlton? Right?
Yes, I'm in Brooklyn.
You're in New York, and they're in Boston. And
right.
Chuck, you're in Chicago, right?
Yes, in the Chicago area. Yes, absolutely. And I just love the way you illuminate things. I mean, sometimes it's just going into the harmony. Of course, the most recent example I think was that Mozart A major concerto, where you say, well, this is what Carlton also brought out was, well, what could like a more average composer have done with this material, and why was Mozart going so far beyond this, and what makes him special in it? And it's it's something that we instantly can hear, but now when you sort of know it, I think it goes even far deeper, and there's a lot of ear opening experiences in these hangouts with the micro tuning and the different approaches to music. And even when Cory was talking about, well, yes, you could play jazz, but you could say it's jazz, but you need this, and that, and this style requires this, that, and the other, so it's not something, you get well beyond, what superficial sort of point of view is, and how he has to alter, a presentation of this song if you want to make it in this sort of style. But I think in general, just in this life, it's great to have someone that has enthusiasm for something. I think someone that has a true depth of feeling and enthusiasm, and you have it, and the participants have it. So I think it's sort of just as an accelerating type of thing. And so I think that's a wonderful. I remember one time someone said that this Bruch Kol Nidre, this one part with the harp, is one of the greatest passages in all of orchestral music. Well, maybe it really wasn't, but when he was saying that, it sure was. And all of a sudden, you felt that. I mean, you felt that it's a relatively small piece and it's a relatively small section, but you do this over and over and over again. And I think I've told you this, that the first time I ever experienced you was when you were talking about the Mahler fourth, and you said, well, these things, these sort of bing, bing, you know, those are like shafts of light going through the devilish scherzo or something like that. And I never paid attention to those little pings. I thought those were just sort of little ornamental nothings. But when you started describing them, you know, and then of course, like you mentioned with Carlton, though, the erudition of Noam and Mark, I mean, and the sort of inside baseball with Kirshner and going through the training. So all of a sudden you feel like you're, you know, experiencing, you know, musicianly training as a musician might experience it. And you know, I know how a surgeon gets trained. I don't know how a musician gets trained. So I think that's it's just fun. So I guess that's the way I would summarize it. But just the enthusiasm of you and the acceleration and the, you know, Laura can talk about the accelerator or whatever. But it certainly generates some energy, and I just really enjoyed that.
I want to interrupt and say you have brought so much to all of us.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
This is the reason I wanted to spotlight all of you guys, not to talk so much about me, but what you've learned from each other. Because Chuck, you have enriched all of our lives with all of the knowledge you've brought to it and the questioning and everything. This is something I'm getting this from all of you, and I hadn't predicted that before. Gloria, you wanna add to that?
I think it takes a rare person such as yourself who's so welcoming to be able to join together, you know, at the Hangouts, seasoned musicians, trained people, and then those of us who are just active listeners and want to get beyond our love of minimalist music. And you have done that so well. And for us to be able to be together and not be bored, hopefully, by the others, I think is really very, very, very special. Very special. I hope I can only speak for myself, but I think I've taken your classes, the late Romantics and Mahler and Wagner, and the audio map is brilliant because I'm a kinesthetic visual learner. And so putting it in that way that we can follow, I think is really key to my ability to learn. But I think the highlight, actually, Russell, was when we were still before COVID in your home, and we all got to practice on the kazoo in preparation for your upcoming concert. And that was so exciting. And I think you actually gave each of us, maybe we should pay you back, but you gave it to us. So I think that, and Pale Face, that was in Pale Face. But
that's right, you were all performers.
I mean, it, you know, the way that, especially in your home, but there's a certain, look at people from, you know, the East can be here with Zoom that we can't be. That's, for me, the only advantage really of this terrible time. But you're so welcoming and you can speak to all of us. And I've learned so much from you. And it's just been a gift. And I think Patricia and I last week said that we talked because I noticed a painting of, you'll remember, but and so we talked. I'm just looking forward to more.
That's what's so great is that you know, you guys are all starting to get to know each other better and discovering you are the most interesting people in the world. You do know that, right? It's classical.
I am. I don't know about you, but I am.
Because we're fans of yours, right?
Yeah, Patricia, you wanna say anything else about what it's meant for you?
Sure. To me, it was, I don't know, it was kind of a lifesaver in the pandemic. Not because I was miserable in the pandemic, I was not. But emails came from you, and I thought, okay, I don't know, let's see, let's try. And at first I came on without a screen, you know, you couldn't see me, just to listen. I didn't know what was going to happen, and boy, it was riveting. And so I got interested, and I then put myself on the screen and started to really enjoy it. And I remember every week it was like we'd go off I've been involved in music my entire life. And so every week it was learning more and more and more deeply about a lot of things and things that I didn't know before at all. And I would be like, I love this class. You know, every week it was, every week I loved it more and more and more. And then I want to talk about the social thing, because then you put us into groups and we started meeting each other and chatting, and then you knew this person and that person and the other person, and they all became familiar, and then we started emailing, and we have little groups, and we're all, I mean, really good friends. And I don't know if I said I'm in Mexico right now, but when I come to California, I have my whole calendar is filled with dates with all these wonderful people.
I just love that, because
I really want to meet all these people. And when the pandemic looked like it was ending, I got anxiety. I mean, I was talking to all my friends. I mean, all my friends that are not on here know about this group that I'm in and the wonders that it's provided and so on. And when it was maybe going to stop, that maybe we were going to stop doing Zoom, I was seriously concerned. Because then what are we going to do? Because we're all over the world, right?
Yeah. That's right. We're all over the world.
And the guys in Boston and Chuck in Chicago and me in Mexico and all over the place.
Even if you're in Los Angeles, you're in your car. You know, I mean, this isn't a minor thing. You know, Gloria spoke. So we had such a great time when I was doing lectures at my house, but I can't tell you how many people would say, "Oh, Russ, I'd love to come, but you're in the valley. Forget it." Yeah. Well, Chuck is a lot farther than the valley. So is Carlton. And so is Mark and Noam, but we figured a way. So I think we have to, you know, we are finding a way to do something kind of unique and marvelous. It's blazing a new territory. And Pat, what you're saying is just such a great example of this, you know. And that's why I think I think we're just at the beginning of a journey. That's myself. Laura, you have definitely been on a journey. You want to say a little bit?
Russell knows, everyone in the group knows that I'm an astronomer by training, and I had a very focused career and spent a lot of devoted time to it. And there was a period I was, as an astronomer, I was the curator of Griffith Observatory. And after the pandemic started, the city offered bonuses to retire. So I had no plan to retire, but I was kind of thinking about it. And then my sister invited me to one of Russell's classes, and I went. And that was a very important afternoon, because I was like, I could be doing this instead. You know, it was so wonderful. I mean, I've been involved in and loved classical music all my life, but it was life-changing for me, because it built a whole picture of what life could be if I retired, which I did. So, and I've been on a marvelous journey since, a cross-country band trip, and just a lot. It's been just a spectacular change and new set of adventures. I did want to comment on the next class that you offered that I took was the theory class, and that class was spectacular, I thought. I was just riveted by it. And I also told you at the time I went to a very good university, took my first year of theory and first year of physics, of music theory, and then physics, trying to decide which major to do. And the music theory was so opaque to me that I went down the physics path.
Much easier, right?
Yes, it was for me. And so to actually have a theory class where it all made sense, and there was this magnificent through line from your very first comments to the last class of the art of taking something as ephemeral as music, something that exists in a sphere that isn't a tangible sphere. It's an emotional sphere, it's a mental sphere, but made manifest, and through notation made concrete and then performed, that just put a light on the whole act of music, composition, performance, all of it, that has really changed my listening completely. And as a result, I've done a lot more, and I've started an ear training class. I listen, every day. So my whole life is so filled with classical music, and that was a real pivot experience for me. So I am very grateful for that, and love the friends that I've made in this class. in this class, in this group. And so I'm very grateful that I'm part of this.
I just love hearing about the transformation that's going on with you, as it is with me too. And I think that's the fact that we're like all catalysts for each other is what is so powerful to me. Katherine, did you want to?
Oh yeah.
David.
I first came across you or was at one of the LA Phil pre-concert lectures, and you were riveting, and it just changed everything about the pre-concert lectures. And I signed up to be on your email list, and I actually made the long trek out to your house one time for a couple of classes, and I'm so glad it's on Zoom because it was a bit of a trek. Traffic. But the thing that's interesting is when the pandemic started and I got the email that this was coming, I thought, oh, what the heck, you know? And now you have pervaded our household so much that everybody calls you mom's guru.
and I have to get a long beard now. And
yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know what they occasionally come in and peer over my shoulder to see really what you look like, you know, just to be sure you're normal. Yeah. But it, you know, my background is pretty much academic, and music. I've always liked music, but I've always, as Carolyn said, it's a little bit was arm's length. You know, I appreciated it, I liked it, and I have involved in many areas of it, but it was at arm's length. And suddenly, just being in your classes, your hangout, listening to others, relating to them, I realized that it's really all about the music. I mean, the academic is really fascinating and so forth, but it's the music, you know, and you always, whenever something would come up, you would always say, well, let's just go back to the music, you know, and that's really what it is. And it's that kind of authenticity that made it so important and so life-changing. And it was something I never thought I could get. I thought it was, you had to be a musician or so forth. But I'm realizing listeners, I mean, for example, Chuck's anecdotes and what he hears in the humor and the background he's got, I know is there and wonderful, but I also know he listens and loves it. And, you know, it means I can too, you know, but you just have to, in your classical, those 3 tips or 4 tips or whatever they were, if you gave it the classical hangouts, were invaluable. And we've talked about it over dinner and so forth like that. It doesn't matter whether you like it or don't like it. What is it? It's the music. And lastly, because I always go rambling on, and I was thinking a little more universally about what I really got out of this. And at the very beginning, when this started, I have to say, honestly, my whole life really was shaken. It turns out the pandemic has been great in many respects, but was shaken. You know, it wasn't politics, or it was climate change, or it was just so many things in the world that I kind of took for granted and counted on, and they were gone, or I thought they were gone, or whatever it was. But it was really fear making, you know, honestly, or fearful, I should say. But then I realized, you know, the thing I grabbed onto in all of this was creativity. You know, the creativity you exhibited, the creativity from some of the musicians, the creativity in learning about the composers and the music, that was a constant. And a lot of things are probably going to change and be horrible or whatever, God willing, they'll change for better. But the creativity will always be there, you know, and that is incredibly, incredibly reassuring. You know, it just, even dark times, Winterreise, for example, I mean, that just really pulled so many things together. It's just been a wonderful year and a half, actually.
So much, haven't we? We've been on quite a Winterreise. All of us have been on a winter's journey. I'm running out of time. I want to hear from David. I also want to let all of you know to stick around if you can, because I have 2 things that are very important. One is we are going to be holding a raffle where I'm going to be raffling off 1 free admission to the Piano Concerto series. And then also there's going to be a bonus for anyone who signs up this week for Patreon. But first, David, would you like to, it's been so wonderful having you, David, and the Hangouts as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like Katherine, And I think, Gloria, I first met you at the Upbeat Live lecture, one of the Upbeat Live lectures. Been going to the Disney Hall every year since it opened in 2003. Oh, and by the way, I finally went to an organ recital there on Sunday night. I highly, highly recommend the Sunday night organ recitals. It's a completely amazing listening experience.
I'm going to guess that Larry compelled you to do that. No?
No. I've been a organ fan for a long time. Anyway, it was amazing. But I have very experienced and trained ears and mind in music because I've been a percussionist since I was 9 or 10. Came through excellent music education programs in Santa Monica. My parents turned me on to classical music around that time. Elementary, middle school, high school, bachelor's at Cal State Northridge, master's at UCLA. So as a percussionist, I've listened to a lot of music and I've played lots of different styles because I've been able to be in all different kinds of groups, band, orchestra, marching band, percussion ensemble, orchestra pit, ballet pit, musical pit. So I have a lot of experience on the inside and also as a listener. So I came in with a lot of ideas and notions about what I like and how I listen to music and how I appreciate it. And the great thing about the Hangouts is Russell's way of breaking things down so that it's interesting for someone like me who's very educated and trained, but also enlightening for people who are not. And it opens up their ears in a whole new way. And it's so enlightening. And the friendliness and the openness and the sharing of information about performers, about music, about people's concert experiences, what's turned them on. In fact, KOSC has this thing right now. If you can send in, if you go on their site until January 28th, Love at First Listen, where you can go and talk about what piece of classical music first got you hooked in. So, I mean, I've been, and it's all, but it's like a first listen, even with Russell talking about something I know or a piece I know, and wow, I'm hearing that a whole different way. Or in the case of his Mahler Second Symphony, the Mahler series, taking 2 entire glorious nights. I'd never heard the thing all the way through. My gosh, what an amazing experience. He got you so inside. And the energy of the in-person classes that he had at his home, which fortunately for me is like 10 minutes from where I live, has continued with the Hangouts and the classes.
That's what's been so neat, that we've been able
the positivity of it. It's been great.
But that's because of all of you. Listen, I want to thank all of you. I appreciate so much that you shared with everyone. And I think people get a pretty good idea of the good time that we have. What I'd like to do, because it's running late now, is I'm going to, I want to hold our raffle. And I want to tell you first about a bonus. Anyone who signs up for the Patreon at any level I'm offering a one-time bonus as for founding members. Is you are going to be able to pick any of these video lecture series or audio lecture series. And I'm building. I'm adding. I'm just about done with String Quartet number 2, and I still have Bartók Ligeti to finish and Hearing Classical Forms. But you can choose any of these. And Piano Concerto will be coming up, and I will give you a free streaming for any of those. The other thing is also just to remind you is that we're going to hold a raffle right now. I have put everyone's name. Whoops, Gloria, you're there twice. That's not fair. Sorry.
I just bought a refrigerator too.
Everyone's name, and the winner of this raffle is going to get a free admission to the Piano Concerto series that begins on Tuesday.
Wow.
A $490 value. And here we go. Oh, wait, let's make it really dramatic. Full screen.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, this is the
what music should we hear?
And the winner is Mark Travis. Woo! All right.
I hope the winner is present.
Let's check if Mark is here. Yeah, he may not. Well, of course, some people have dropped out. I will find out.
You missed by one. I was right next to him. So should I get runner-up if he's not there? I mean,
yes, this is a hangout.
He's not here, Russell.
Right.
What?
He's not here.
Oh, he's not here? Why don't we do it one more time then? Let's.
I think you should just, yeah.
She's a hangout winner.
What? We should what? Was there what? Yeah.
One more time.
Okay. Let me try this one more time. Okay.
Must be present to win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Look on the bottom.
Here we go.
That was the mystery spin.
Is Marvin there? I can see Marvin for a while.
Oh, he is here.
Okay, Marvin, congratulations. You just got free admission to my concerto series, and I see that it was that was given to you by Allie. And so huge thanks to Allie for bringing you here, and to you as well. I actually had so much prepared, including I was going to premiere a piece. I'm going to hold that off because we've already hit 6 o'clock. And I just want to, again, give you the link to the consortium here.
But will that be on your website?
If it's now going to be on my website. Are you now seeing the consortium page?
Yeah.
I got it, Russell.
Yeah. So let me make sure that you have that link, and I'm going to give it to you again in the chat, and I will be mailing it in a
email, right?
In an email, yes. One of my famous emails, right? And let me stop the share here for a second. Okay, and I will just put it here. Here's the link to Patreon. And there you go. I just want to close by saying that, I'm so actually deeply moved by the musicians that all wanted to come on, and there were many more actually who wanted to come on and talk about it, and how excited they were, saying that there's such a need for something like this. And I'm just equally moved by all the people I've gotten to know already, the wonderful people I've gotten to know already, and how beautiful it will be to grow this thing. And really, we always read every year, oh, classical music's dying and blah blah blah. And of course, that isn't true. But what has atrophied is the closeness between the audience and the music, and between the audience and the performers. And that's why in my video I did this. I realized that is something, I've just seen this as a problem ever since I've been involved in music. And I think this is a way, probably the best discovery I've made for a way to heal that problem. Just like some of you said, I always hated Emperor's New Clothes I've always had that feeling going to concerts. Oh, I'm supposed to like this, but I don't like it. Or I'm supposed to understand this and I don't. And it's taken me a lifetime of music to get past that. And so I just don't like any charlatanism at all. And what I love about it is I feel like I'm arming all of you. Because you're going to go in, people can't pull wool over your eyes. You have confidence, this great love. And as you've discovered, the more we analyze the music, the deeper our emotions, and more to the point, the deeper the sense of purpose. And I can't think of anything more valuable in life. So I just want to thank all of you for being part of this launch party. I will have my premiere of my piece at another time. And I'm sorry if I cut some of you short, but we just have too good a time.
Can you just send that link through in an email to all of us so that we don't have to do it now? Right?
Yes, I will. And before we go, I'd like to know, do any of you have questions? Questions about Patreon? Questions about joining, questions about the tiers, questions about the benefits, or any of that? Does it sound good to you? Yeah, I'm seeing heads go. Okay, well that's really important. I really want to thank all of you for taking the time, and for those of you on the concerto journey with us, we'll be going there. We're going to have one last free hangout this Monday coming up for end night, because it's January 31st. And then after that, that'll be for everyone who has joined the Patreon. So all of you, please plan on coming to the hangout, and we'll continue the fun. Okay, let's all just have a little wave at the end. And I want to
thank you, Russell. Thanks.
Where's your kazoo?
Yeah, where's our kazoo? Well, you know what I've got here? Here, Gloria, it's funny you say this. I have a thunder. So I don't think that translates on Zoom very well.
It translated well.
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish with Mahler 2 the same way I started, on a high note of emotion. And again, thank all of you for being part of this. I want to say good night to all of you, okay?